If you think knowing Excel is enough to become a data analyst, then you're looking for a job that no longer exists. And that's why so many smart people study for months and they put in so many hours looking for a job and they fail at finding a job as a data analyst. In this video, I'll break down specific software skills you will need as a data analyst to be successful at finding a job and, more importantly, succeed in your job. More importantly, I will show you how these tools work together so you don't fail at finding the exact order of learning these software skills. If you're new here, my name is Alish, and in this channel I talk about data analytics and tech. And if you're interested in such niche, you're in the right place. When it comes to the software skills of a data analyst, I think the most basic one to start with is definitely Excel. Yes, Excel might be the most hated tool by so many people, and probably not just data analysts, but nearly everyone is utilizing Excel. So that's why Excel is going to be your starting point. Yes, Excel can be useless for some advanced data analysts like me, which already utilize tools like Python, SQL, or Power BI to work with overall data analytics job. But when it comes to as a beginner, I think the Excel is going to be your main tool to learn the basics of data analytics. I think the most essential thing when it comes to Excel would be to learn logical formulas, aggregates, and also some text formatting to help you clean the data. Also, on top of that, certain functionalities that will help you to visualize the data, such as learning some charts, some graphs. But the most important thing about Excel will be to learn Power Query, because once you learn Power Query, you would learn about how to clean the data in a more automated way, also learning more about merging, appending, and many more data cleaning and data transformation procedures that you would also later need if you were to learn tools like Power BI. And this will also teach you a lot about the essentials of data cleaning, data formatting, and most importantly, data transformation. Second most important skill will be SQL. You might be saying, yes, SQL is everywhere, but I would say that data analysts do not pay enough attention to SQL. I think SQL is more important for data engineers in most of the cases, but for data analysts as well, I think SQL will be a very essential tool in their workplace. Especially once you step up and going into big corporate world, you don't find the data in Excel anymore. Excel can be good for some small data sets and for small companies as well, because it's a cheaper way to store the data. But once you come up to millions of rows and you see huge data sets, it's going to be real hard to keep them on Excel, and it will be much slower to process them. So that's where the SQL is coming into play, and that's where it will be the most essential thing that you would learn as a data analyst. Especially if you want to go up in the level as a data analyst, and if you want to aim for better positions, better pay, I think learning SQL will be the most essential skill as a data analyst. Why? Because it will help you a lot with data automation, data cleaning, extracting data from databases, which again, most of the big companies are storing their data in databases like Databricks or in Snowflake and so on. And when it comes to learning SQL, of course, the basics will be learning such things like select, where, from. Learning some joins will be the most helpful, group by, having. Such functions will help you a lot with starting with data cleaning, extracting the data that you actually need. Specifically, joins will be the very important part of the learning process, because joins is very essential in terms of how you extract the data and how optimized you can make it, how optimized your query is to speed up the automation process and speed up the data extraction process, so you would lose less time pulling the data from the server and of course save more money while doing so. If you ask me what will be the most important soft skills as a data analyst, I'll probably tell you storytelling and data visualization. And why am I saying them together? Because you cannot tell the story without visualization, and you cannot use the visualization without proper story, because it will be meaningless. And especially when it comes to showing the data to high-level executives, to managers and so on, they will need the short summaries, or they will need easier readable data that you can easily send a message to them and show them that what is the issue or where is the growth opportunities. And in this case, I would suggest visualization tools would be the most important skill that you would learn as a software. And when it comes to software, I would suggest either Tableau or Power BI. Power BI is personally my favorite because that's what I start with and that's what I feel more comfortable working with. But another good thing about Power BI that I really like is that it is free to use. It is easily accessible, that you can download the desktop version for free and you can start working on visualization. You can build and you can experiment with what kind of visualizations you can build, what kind of dashboards you can most importantly build. And I think the most important question here is how to learn visualization and what kind of theories you will need to learn to be successful. And I think here it is all about practice. More you start practicing with Power BI, especially when it comes to, for example, data modeling, when it comes to this Power Query usage, which I was mentioning in Excel, I think learning Power Query will be essential, especially if you want to manipulate and work on the data directly in Power BI instead of utilizing SQL, because I think as a beginner, this might be very essential for you to learn also how to model the data and transform the data if you don't know about SQL. For such cases, I think Power BI will be your most friendly tool to start with. More you start using the tool, more you experiment with that, you will understand which charts are good to put together with which. You will understand what kind of audience you are trying to address your message with. And based on these such questions, you will understand what kind of dashboard would work better. And of course, you will improve over the time. Another important software tool will be Python. I think a lot of people misunderstand Python, and I think they look at this tool as a very advanced tool that might not be needed by a lot of data analysts. Of course, it might not be the most important, but if you genuinely want to grow in your career and if you want to go up and become, let's say, data scientist, or if you want to do more advanced data analytics, I think that's where Python enters into the picture. But why is Python important? With Python, you will have access to advanced analytics. And of course, once you have access to advanced analytics, you can market yourself much better that you know such skills. When I'm looking at the job descriptions recently, of course, the job market is highly saturated when it comes to data analysts. And because there is this high saturation, I think the competition is very high as well. So you need to really show that you are actually different from the other candidates. I think that's where Python comes into the picture to give you higher possibility of being recruited. And especially if you have got some projects in Python, let's say you have done some automation projects, you have done some advanced data analytics, I would highly suggest you to add them to your portfolio, because that will help you a lot with the recruitment process, as you will be one step ahead from the other candidates. Another important remark about this one would be to maybe not to push learning Python in the first year of learning data analytics, but I think later in your, let's say, data analyst career, this will be very important for you to upgrade your position, to get better pay, better position, and better company as well. My final remark on software will be to learn more about cloud infrastructure and big data thinking. Of course, as a starting data analyst, this might not be important, but let's say if you have a shot at finding a job in big corporate, let's say as a junior position, or even as an intern, where you would have a higher chance to show yourself and possibly get a full-time position, that's where the big data will come into the play, and I would say the cloud infrastructure will come into the play. Of course, you're not a data engineer. You don't have to know every piece of cloud infrastructure. You need to have understanding about the data flows. You need to have understanding about automation. You need to have understanding how SQL can be utilized in such cases, and how you're going to be utilizing that data infrastructure that exists for that company, so that you can do better data analysis, you can build better data pipelines. That would be my final suggestion in terms of software. And now let's go into the big picture to understand how you can use all together to become a better data analyst and better candidate for the corporate. I think the biggest mistake that data analysts are making in their learning journey is not to see the big picture. And what I mean by that is that they are learning the tools separately. And when you learn the tools separately, you don't quite learn analysis. You just learn the software, and learning software won't make you a data analyst. You need to learn a lot more different soft skills that I will probably talk about in a separate video, but you would need to learn something like asking questions, helping with the decision making. And that's what the whole final goal is, to help with the decision making. Your data or your visualization will help you people to make decisions based on the data that you are providing and based on the problem that exists in the business. So for such case, I think the actual data analyst should work and should think in terms of the workflows. And what I mean by that is that you need to understand that SQL will help you with extracting the data in the most optimized way possible. You can use Excel or Python depending on your preference, change, transform, clean the data, and purpose it for visualization to make it ready. And finally, you will use Power BI or Tableau to create visualizations, to tell stories, to help with the decision-making process. So people can actually take some insights and to make sure that they are able to make some decisions that will help business to solve the problems, to increase the profits, and more importantly, that will also help you in your career to grow and to give you better position, better pay, and so on. But how can you solve this issue and see big picture? I think that one of the common mistakes that people are making is to learn data analytics without a business context. Because at the end of the day, the data analytics that you are going to be learning, the software that you're going to be learning, you're going to utilize it in some kind of business context. You're going to use it in corporate, maybe in some small business, middle-level business, or maybe you're going to use it as a freelance data analyst. And at the end of the day, you're going to help with some business context. And that's why one of the important things is not to just like watch the course and go through the materials and then seeing that, okay, I can write the formula or I can write the code. I can just pull up this kind of chart or make some graphs in Power BI. No, it's not the case. You need to take an actual business problem. You're going to find a lot of data sets with some kind of explanations, with some kind of an exercise that will give you certain business context. And based on the business context, you need to learn how to ask questions, how to find the problems, how to suggest the solutions based on this data. And when you learn it that way, the whole data analysis process, all of your learning process is becoming simpler and more effective, and you will become a more attractive candidate to the employers. When you learn with the business context, it's going to be easier to solve those work tasks that they're going to be giving you during the interviews or during your assessment process. And that's why it is very much important to learn software along with the business context, because without that one, it's just going to be meaningless. And you're just going to be another coder in the industry, which will be unemployed, and it will be hard for you to accept the fact that you wasted all your time. So in order to not to waste time, you need to learn all of them together. You need to learn tools along with some business context to be able to answer questions and to be actually useful to the employers, because they are not looking for coders. They're actually looking for people who can contribute to the profits, contribute to the problem solving. I understand the fact that the whole process can be very overwhelming for someone who's a beginner, especially learning all the software skills and at the same time trying to understand business context, asking right questions, doing the correct analysis, and so on. But at the end of the day, most important thing is to have the correct guide and the correct roadmap so that you can access this whole thing without thinking about which source I'm going to be utilizing or what things I need to learn. So for that reason, I already prepared for you the free roadmap that you can access for free in the description below. Link is there. Feel free to use it. Feel free to share it with your friends as well, because it's a free resource. At the end of the day, I'm trying to help you guys with some free resources so your learning process can be much easier compared to what I had in the past. Also, I would like to give you a very, very short announcement. Soon, I'm going to be launching my Power BI course, which is going to be focused fully on data visualization. Of course, I'm going to teach you some additional steps before how you are coming to data visualization as well. But most importantly, I'll teach you how to visualize data so you tell better stories to your employers, to your managers, so that you can step up your data analytics game and get promoted, get better pay, and get to better companies. So that's going to be launched soon. Once I launch it, I will give you information on this YouTube channel in one of the videos. And also, if you don't want to miss it out, please make sure to follow my Instagram account, because that's where I'm sharing more frequent updates, because here I can only share maybe a video once a week because it's more long form, but over there I'm sharing videos every day. So feel free to follow me over there to not miss that update. So that's all for today. And if you feel like this video has been useful, feel free to put a like on my video. Also comment what you're learning right now and what's your biggest struggle right now with learning data analytics, or let's say with the recruitment process. And I'll try to reply to you in the comments, and let's share our ideas and see if we can help each other. That's all for today. See you in the next videos. Bye bye.